It's time for another tale from the glass-guarded world, with Brian as Paxton the human cleric and fighter, Danielle as Athelflaed the halfling rogue and monk, Ashley as Tara Dane the human fighter, Chris as Aster Fortuna the half-elf rogue and bard, and me, Mike, as the DM. After an unpleasant encounter with a city guard, the adventurers have escaped the city of Drongledoon with the help of the halfling barbarian Epilema. Now they need to find their way across the mountains to the eastern bubble, where they hope to uncover more of the truths of foresight. A podcast note. We are probably nearing the end of the first season of the podcast. It's always hard to tell because one never knows which side quests the party might investigate, but we probably have between 6 and 10 episodes left before we wrap up the first part of the story. To be clear, the story will continue with the same characters, unless there is a total party kill at some point, in the second season. But there will be a delay while we take a break to do some writing and preparation for the second season. And now, back to our heroes, just outside the walls of Drongledoon.
Run out through the gate. The guards are totally unattentive to you. They have no idea that you've moved past them. And other people are also running in and out and avoiding some customs duties as a result. You run out the gate. You can see that this road stretches south in front of you. On either side of the road, there are wheat fields. As you run out and past some of these other people who are moving in, and you sort of lose yourselves in the crowd, you get the sense that you're probably in the clear for now. Epilema starts strolling and trying to look more casual. She says, so, still need a guide?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, still want to go to that eastern bubble, huh?
Mm-hmm.
We do.
Yeah. All right, well, I've never been to that eastern bubble. Yeah, I don't know anyone who has. It's big, though. Really big. Yeah. The trick won't be finding it. The trick will be getting there.
I trust you can get us there, Epilema.
I'm going to try, but gonna cost you. I want 100 gold.
I've caught up with the group, right?
Oh yeah, you're all in a group. Yeah,
catching up. Okay. I mean,
you're strolling casually as you can.
I'll donate.
When we get there?
Fair enough. Yeah, that'll work. If I get you there, you get me 100 gold.
Can do.
Okay.
All right. As I see it, we got two choices. We can head straight south to CSNM, then that's the city to the south, and then we can take the Eastern Trail past Fort Iron Crown. That's one option. That path is pretty easy in the sense that it's a path, it's a trail, right? There's a road. But the downside is it's going to be watched. There'll be lots of Imperial soldiers, yeah? It's going to be watched all the time. Lots of patrols. Also, the area around that fort is dangerous because the Emperor, he guards his mountains real jealously, right? The trail continues past the fort and into the hinterlands, and at that point it should be safer from Imperial troops. But it's still dangerous, though, because the Emperor has stocked the area with lots of undead that don't care about the cold or the terrain. And I've heard of other things out there, too. Ruins, monsters. Sounds like fun, yeah? Yeah.
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 What's our other option?
So, the other option, we can just go straight east from here. Just straight through the hills and by the Copper Mountain. Then go south once we get near the wall. But, that'd be nice. I mean, the advantage of that is there are fewer patrols, but there are just as many undead, and the going's gonna be rough. No trails, no roads, except for some near the mountain that lead to the Copper Mountain that lead to the fort to the south. And the dwarves keep a tight hold on all the ore mountains, Not even the Emperor tries to get inside them. And we shouldn't either. So what's it gonna be, huh? Gonna be straight east or south first? You want the trail with lots of soldiers, or do you want the difficult trek through the mountains?
Which takes longer?
Definitely going through the mountains. Straight through the mountains to the east, that would take longer. But of course, if we get caught by the Imperial soldiers, then it's gonna take a lot longer. Because then we gotta kill them all or get out of jail.
Well, I know what I prefer, but I'm looking at everyone else.
How tough are these zombies? These undead?
Well, yeah, you got your zombies, but you also got your whites, and you got your other stuff that I haven't encountered. So that's not my favorite stuff to fight. Those undead. But I haven't been out that far before. I've just heard the stories.
Are there any cities along the way? I'm thinking about food rations and stuff.
No, that's another thing is we're going to have to really conserve our rations and be careful. On the plus side, we got, merchants around us. We could stock up with some things. We could steal some crops around here, try to take some stuff with us. But once we get out beyond the crops, there's pretty much nothing between here and the wall. No food, supplies, except for whatever we can catch.
How about how long do you think it's going to take us so that I know how much I should purchase?
Well, it's about a 2-3 day walk across to the hills, the foothills. And then from there, depends on how good we are at moving across the hills, what path we take. It could take 8 days, it could take 20 days. Depends on how bad the terrain is. It also depends on whether we cut south and use the roads. If we take the roads, it'd be a bit faster.
Is it open? Or is there places we can hide as we migrate?
Oh yeah, if you want to hide, there's lots of places to hide once we get into the hills. Yeah.
I already feel pretty bad that we kicked the snot out of some of those guards. Some even worse. And I feel like if we move along the roads where there's going to be more Imperial guards, best case scenario, they don't recognize us, but they do recognize us. We're only going to have one choice. And we pretty much pulled them into that by making the choice to go along the road. So, I've got survival skills. I could probably find us some food while we're out in the wilderness.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I like hunting.
I say we buy some rations too.
Mm-hmm. So we would need 2 to 3 days plus.
Yeah, so for each person, you would
2 to
need
3 days.
2-3 days for the first part of the trip, and then to the wall, she's saying you're going to need at least 8, and then you got to get back. So let's see. Let's look up rations on D&D Beyond here.
Yeah.
1 day of rations is normally 5 silver pieces, but you're going to have to pay a gold for every day because you're going to have to get people to circumvent the price controls and actually sell you something. So it's going to be a gold per person per day. Right? So Athelflaed, if you want, 12 days of food, that's 12 gold.
Let me do 15.
Everybody else stocking up?
I buy 40.
40. All right.
She's not messing around.
Yeah,
Okay.
can I buy the 12 that you said?
Sure. Just mark down that you have those rations.
Mhm.
12 for me as well.
All right. So you all stock up, buying some supplies from the merchants on the road. And after you've done that, Epilema just leads you straight off the road, straight to the east, straight into the wheat fields.
And how's the weather?
It's getting cool. It feels like a fall weather. And it's not raining right now, but the ground is a little moist from last night's rain. Epilema cuts straight through these wheat fields. Even though they look vibrant and productive from the road, you find that about 50 feet from the edge of the road, once you get that far from the road, the wheat just stops, and there's just fallow, empty fields. You can see some farmhouses in the distance, but it's almost like there's a wall of wheat planted right by the road, and then just barren, flat ground beyond that. It looks like it might have been wheat fields at one point, but it's not right now.
Epilema, do you know what's going on with the farming over here?
Yeah, it's those crazy farmers, right? That started happening back when the Emperor started collectivizing the fields, Yeah, see, when they first did it, the farmers started slacking off. And the lazy bums just wouldn't work as hard once they couldn't make a pile of money from their wheat, right? But then the officials get mad at the farmers, and they start throwing people in the dungeon for not contributing, so the farmers came up with this neat trick, right? They used to work real hard along the roads and get all that pretty wheat that you see, but you can only see it from the road, right? You can see all that wheat from the road, but once you get beyond that, it's just empty fields, because those lazy farmers, they don't want to grow all that stuff for the price-controlled price. So
Why don't they just try to sell their wheat outside of the Empire?
Well, because, there's rules about selling valuable wheat to foreigners.
Oh.
Yeah, so they work real hard along the roads, and that's where the Imperial officials can see the wheat, and they're real happy with that, right? But beyond that, there's no wheat. That's a clever trick. Of course, it means there still isn't enough wheat to go around. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess, but at least the wheat's cheap, right? Feel sorry for those saps in those other nations, the places you folks come from, where the merchants can charge whatever they want. That's sad.
So you like it here in the Empire?
Well, I like the low prices. That's good, right? I like a deal.
Okay.
Now that I'm outside of the city, I want
Uh-huh.
to take a look at this sword that I stole from.
And you can see smoke coming up from near the south gate, by the
Yeah.
way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a big plume of smoke. And a smaller plume of smoke from some burning corpses a little bit further north.
Mm.
You're looking at the sword. It looks like a nice sword, maybe even a mastercraft sword.
Hmm.
You don't know if it's magical.
Okay. Does it? It doesn't have anything on it that would imply that it's magical, though, right?
It
Like
doesn't have any runes.
Okay.
No.
Any fancy gems?
No fancy gems, but it does have a nice pearl handle.
Okay.
The handle is made of a bunch of sheets of thinly sliced pearl.
And you said a long sword?
It's a long sword.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a nice sword. Probably valuable, but you don't know if it's a magical weapon or not.
Cool.
So the foothills, you can see from here, because everything's so flat, they're about 50 miles away, straight east, across empty, flat ground. Only the occasional ruined, empty farmhouse interrupts the empty landscape. Epilema assures you that it's fine to camp in any of these farmhouses, and you spend the next 4 days marching steadily. Water is hard to come by, but you do find some pools and puddles from time to time, and occasionally there's some rainfall that creates more of them, so you have an opportunity to refill your water skins on this march. If you've got supplies on your sheets, please mark off 2 days' worth of rations. But once you get into the foothills, the going gets more difficult. You can see a large greenish-orange mountain looming into the distance beyond the hills to the east, and you can see other metallic-looking mountains visible to the southeast. And you know that there are mountains like these in each of the 4 nations, these big hunks of metal that are called mountains. As you enter the foothills, travel becomes more difficult. There are sheer drops, switchbacks that lead to dead ends, cliff walls that block your path when you turn a corner. It's slow going. And here we're going to have a game mechanics change. Here's how it's going to go. Due to this difficult terrain, you're going to face significantly slower progress unless you find some interesting solutions. Also, you're going to go through your rations at an alarming speed unless you find ways to do otherwise. Epilema has 16 person days of rations. You each have your own individual rations as well. And of course, Lumpen doesn't need rations. We're going to do a series of checks as you guys progress. There are 2 things you're trying to do. Preserve your rations and avoid slowing down. You each get to choose a skill and tell me a story about something that you do with that skill, to either keep the party from slowing down or preserve the party's rations. And you need 1 successful skill check at each of those, at least 1 successful skill check. The DC will be 13 on these skill checks. So if you can't get a successful skill check related to keeping your movement speed up, then you'll take twice as much time to travel to the border of the hills and the wasteland beyond. That is, instead of the journey of 100 miles taking 4 days, it's going to take 8 days, right? So that was sort of her worst case scenario. She was giving you the worst case. If you do really well, it could only take 4 days. If you get 2 successful checks, the journey will take just 3 days.
Do we all have to make the check successfully?
No. So you have a choice, each of you individually. You can choose to either help your group keep moving, or I'll talk about the other option. You can choose to help keep your ration use down, right? Those are your 2 things that you can choose to do. You can use a skill check to do one of those. And you have to tell me a story about what it is that you're doing with that skill check, right? And if you can't get a successful skill check related to preserving your rations, then you'll use up your rations at the normal rate. But if you do get a successful skill check, if one of you gets a successful skill check, then you'll cut that use by 50%. And if you get 2 successful skill checks, then I'll cut your ration use down to 25% of its normal rate. All right? So, Tara, are you trying to keep the party moving quickly or trying to preserve the party's rations?
I am trying to keep the party moving quickly.
And how are you going to do that?
I am using my athletics
Okay.
to help pull people over obstacles,
Okay.
lift Athelflaed up when there's those sheer cliffs.
All right. You reach a difficult, slippery cliff, and you're going to use your athletics to try to help everyone up it. How's that?
Yes.
All right. Great. Make your check.
13.
You just made it. All right, so with some difficulty.
Oh, sorry, that was a 15.
15. All right, so not that much difficulty. You manage to get everyone up this slippery, steep cliff, and that allows you to avoid taking some twists and turns that would have slowed down your progress. So you have managed to avoid some lengthy detours. Aster, are you trying to keep the party moving quickly or trying to preserve the party's rations?
Trying to move the party quickly, I believe.
Okay.
Question. With skill checks, would they involve if I have to use my instrument to do them?
You could do that if you can find a way to incorporate your instrument and make a performance check.
I'm thinking about using performance with the guitar of the bazaar.
So what are you doing? Tell me the story of what you're doing with the guitar to keep people moving.
So I'm trying to inspire them, and the guitar of the bazaar has the spell heroism.
Okay.
And or I could try to use. Can I use bardic inspiration to help them in any way, or is it just for the skill checks?
That's just for helping other people with their skill checks. If you wanted to, you could say, I'm going to pass on my attempt to do something, and instead use bardic inspiration to help someone else. You could do that. But that would mean you'd give up on the opportunity for you to pass your skill check and do one of the tasks yourself. For example, you could, if you wanted, you could say, I'm going to use my guitar to play a marching song and use that to help keep our speed up, right? That's something you could do.
Okay, let me try doing
I'll make
that.
a performance check then.
17.
Yes, you succeed. All right, so with an inspiring bit of marching music, you manage to keep everyone moving when they're starting to get tired.
The melody could be kind of like Darth Vader's Imperial.
All right, that's going to be interesting if I try to put that into the music.
Well, we want to keep the show going, so...
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
No IP incursion.
Yes. All right, Paxton, are you trying to keep the party moving quickly or trying to preserve the party's rations?
I'm trying to preserve our rations.
All right.
So I've got... I'm proficient in both survival and nature, but I'm a little bit higher at survival than nature.
Probably a better choice anyway.
Yeah. So, with survival, I'm gonna say that as we're walking along the path, I'm coming up from behind, and I'm trying to make sure that we're not passing by any like edible grasses or herbs or mushrooms or anything like that, or that I don't see any sort of little small woodland creatures that I could hit with my longbow.
Cool.
Anywhere near us.
Make a check.
It is an 18.
You succeed. You manage to find several wild fruits and berries growing, and you manage to kill several small rabbits and other mammals that you can cook for dinner and prepare them well. So that's great. That's one success. There's 2 successes on the keeping things moving and 1 success on keeping our ration use down, which means you guys are traveling very quickly and you're not using a lot of food. Athelflad, I haven't really figured out what I would do if there were 3 successes on moving quickly. So does Athelflad want to keep the party moving quickly or try to preserve the party's rations?
I was gonna preserve rations,
okay.
Because being at the monastery, I was gardening and in charge of agriculture. Also, I'm proficient in medicine, so I keep my eye out for any sort of herbs that might stave off hunger, keep energy up.
So what skill are you using? Nature? Nature sounds like a good choice
nature
for
makes
that.
more sense.
Okay.
Although my survival is higher, but...
Okay, you could use survival if you want to use survival. That's fine.
All
right.
Ooh, 6.
6. All right, so you're not able to find any medicinal herbs that would help the party avoid being hungry.
Okay.
But that's okay. We've got 1 success on the ration side and 2 successes on the movement side, which means that movement through the hills and then through the mountains only takes 3 days.
3 where the optimal was going to be 2 to 3.
It was going to take up to 8.
Oh, wow.
Up to 8.
Okay.
4 if you got 1 success, but only 3 days if you get 2 successes. So you're moving through the mountains really quickly, thanks to some marching music and some adroit use of climbing skills. Your ration use is cut by 50%. All right. So instead of this journey taking you 3 days of rations, let's suppose that it only takes you 2, and then we'll maybe give you another freebie day once you get beyond this range. All right, so you've only used 2 more days of rations. You guys make your trip through the mountains pretty quickly. I'll describe some of the things that you see as you're going through. So first you go into the foothills,
And then you start to see little outcroppings of copper here and there, just raw copper, green and orange. And you can see this giant mound of copper in the distance. And as you get closer and closer, you can start to make out features in it. And you can see that it has actually been carved. This giant mound of copper has been carved with tunnels and openings and balconies and all sorts of things all over it. It is obviously inhabited, probably by dwarves. And in fact, you can see in the distance groups of dwarves with shipments of copper. And I'm going to assume you're trying to avoid them?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So you don't have much difficulty avoiding them. It's relatively easy to just get out of the way and wait for them to go by. Although you're not sure to what extent they can see you from up on the mountain in the distance. But in any case, you make it up to the area around the mountain, and I'm going to assume you're again skirting the mountain. But again, as you get closer, you can see more and more of these features. It's almost like a giant piece of copper statuary at this point, which is covered in all sorts of designs, patterns, and living places for these dwarves, dwellings for the dwarves. And you make it past the mountain, and you can see the glass of the wall getting closer and closer and closer. And in fact, you think maybe in the distance, you can see there's a bit of snow clouds, storm clouds in the distance near the wall, but you think occasionally when the clouds part, you can begin to see a bit of a bubble up against that distant wall. And it looks bigger than the bubble that you guys saw before on the western wall, except for Aster, who wasn't there. All right, so you're getting closer and closer. You make your way past this mountain, and the dwarven patrols are getting more and more common. So in order to make sure that no one spots you, I'm going to ask actually Epilema and Athelflaed to make some stealth rolls and assume that they're sort of in charge of the stealth of the party. What did you get?
26.
So you are both very sneaky, and you manage to escort your little group past the mountain without being spotted by any dwarven patrols. The terrain begins to change quickly once you get past the mountain. And again, this mountain looks strange. You can see there are other mountains to the south. The next mountain to the south is another metal. You're not sure what it is, but you can. It looks silverish. It might actually be silver. It's a smaller mountain. And then to the south of that is the Iron Mountain. That is the largest iron mountain in all of the world. And it's just this giant black, orange, rusty mound. Right? It's a black and orange rusty mound of iron. And you know that the Fort Iron Crown is near that. But to the east, in the direction you're going, you can see the terrain quickly flattens out and turns into a big, cold mess. It's a lot of ice, and snow, and the hills get much lower and more rolling and then flat, and you're looking down onto them, right? And you can see occasionally as you pass through this, the remains of these hills, you can see that there are some old houses that have fallen down. Some of them stone; those are in better shape. Some of them were wood; those are almost gone. It's a pretty barren, empty area, and it's cold here. It's getting colder. You've got some cold weather clothes still, although I'm not sure if Aster does. But
I have a blanket.
Okay, that'll work. You'll wrap yourself up in that blanket, but it's getting colder. Another interesting thing that happens is on the third morning, as you're getting close to exiting the mountains, when you wake up in the morning, let's see who's the earliest one that happens to wake up. Usually when you get up, Epilema's already up and getting ready to move the camp. But this morning, Paxton, when you get up, you happen to get up pretty early, and you catch her reading a book.
Hey, what you got there?
And she slams it closed.
No, nothing. It's nothing at all. It's just one of those dumb things, you know. I look at him every once in a while, and it's nothing.
She sticks it in her bag.
Doesn't look like nothing.
It's just a book. I don't like these things. You know, I hear they're really great and important and everything, but you know, only wimps think that, and I'm not a wimp, right?
No, you're definitely not a wimp, but, you know, I read books from time to time, and I'm not a wimp.
That's your problem.
What's your book about?
Nothing.
Nothing?
I'm just reading books. I'm not reading books. I'm not reading books. I'm just looking at the pictures. Yeah.
What are the pictures of?
It's not important. Want to help me put away the camp?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's do that. Yeah. Readings for wimps.
All right, yeah, I help her put up the camp, but
She looks incredibly embarrassed. And doesn't mention it again. All right, she does not. You don't see that book again. At least not not while you're on this, not today. All right, so you continue your journey east. It gets colder and colder. You're moving downhill now into this flat, snowy region. And every once in a while, you can see, moving in the distance, you think you see a figure moving through these drifts of snow that you see blowing every once in a while, but then they disappear.
Only he sees it, right? Or
All of you see,
we're all
see this
awake.
from time to time. You swear you see some figures moving through these drifts of snow, but then they disappear.
Large figures, like
Human-sized.
human-sized. Okay.
So are the undead shy?
I don't know. I haven't met them. I don't know. But we'll have to keep an eye out.
Now keep in mind that I can turn undead, but I can only do it a couple times a day.
Right.
So I'd prefer to only use it if we're getting swamped.
That's all right. We can tear them apart too.
Yep. Well, I assume it'll come down to both.
So that's the third day. You guys make it to the cold edge, the hinterland. The fourth day, you start out, and Epilema says,
We might get to that eastern bubble today if we make good progress.
So you're moving along. You are making pretty good progress. And then the afternoon, you see there's a mound up ahead, a mound of snow.
And Epilema says, I don't like the looks of this. This doesn't look right. We should maybe go around. There shouldn't be a big hill of snow here.
What do you think it is?
Well, I mean, it should just kind of blow by. Let's go around.
Oh, okay. I'll think it works.
All right. Aster, you actually notice that there are some hands sticking out of it as you guys make your way around it. There are some gnarled, clenched hands sticking out of this mound of snow.
Can I?
It's probably 10 feet tall.
Would I be able to do an investigation check maybe to
If
look
you want to
at
get closer.
it? Yeah, can I?
All right. Aster walks up a bit closer. I'll just roll your investigation check real quick. All right. Oh, you get a good look. You think there's a gold ring on one of those bony fingers, and you think that there's this scrap of cloth on that arm. It looks like it's been there for a while. It looks like this ice is kind of crusted around it.
Can I attempt to grab both?
Sure. You don't need to roll anything. You just reach out and grab it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right, you reach out and grab it. Roll for initiative.
You said he didn't have to roll anything.
Well, not to grab it.
I want that ring, though. I'm a thief.
You grab the ring. You've got the gold ring.
Oh, okay. 16.
Everybody can roll. 16 for Aster.
9 for me.
9
Paxton.
for Paxton.
15.
15 for... Where are you? Athelflad. And for Tara...
18.
18. All right. So here's what happens. As Aster reaches out to grab this gold ring, he does, but the hand jerks away. And suddenly the snow explodes around where this hand was.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I like shiny things.
So you can see a creature, a corpse, in tattered armor and clothing, and it's got wispy white hair blowing off of its skull, and red lights glowing in its eye sockets.
Whoa.
And it doesn't make any noise, and it just reaches out for you.
Would you say that it is of the type undead?
That's a good guess.
Okay.
That would be a safe guess, I think.
Maybe he wants a hug.
There's nothing safe about this thing.
Uh-oh. It rolled 22.
No.
Oh, it goes before us. Crackerjack.
It reaches out to attempt to grab poor Aster. I'm afraid a 23 probably hits.
Yep.
All right. Well, you don't take that much damage.
Oh, no.
You only take 5 points of necrotic damage,
My first
but you
damage.
need to make a DC 13 Constitution saving throw.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
You said 5 damage?
5 damage. You feel a sudden grip of cold as it grabs your arm.
And I'm making Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 19.
Ah, you saved. All right, for a moment you felt the heat draining from your body into this creature, but you're able to shake it off, and the creature lets go of you.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
And that brings us to Tara. Tara, this crazy undead creature has just grabbed poor... Oh, actually, you know what? It gets 2 attacks. It could also, with its failure to drain some life out of you, it decides to instead just swing at you with a longsword.
Okay.
And it hits you again.
Okay.
And it does... You got lots of hit points. You'll be fine.
Do you, though?
Yeah, kind of.
How many hit points do you have?
33.
Wow.
How does the bard have more hit points than the fighter?
He's almost a tank.
You take 8 points of damage.
8 points?
8 points. So that's a total of 13.
Mm-hmm. I am at 20.
Now it's Tara's turn. Tara, this creature has just grabbed Aster and then failed to drain some life from him and swung at him and hit him with a sword. And Aster looks injured. What are you going to do?
Tara has drawn her sword and is heading over to attack the creature.
All right.
But when all the snow flew away, do we just see that one creature?
You just
still?
see the one.
Okay. My attack roll is a 16.
That is a hit.
And damage roll is 12? No, 11.
11 points of damage. All right. Thank you. That is Tara's turn. The creature recoils from your magical weapon. And that brings us to Aster. Aster, what do you want to do? Tara has come to your aid.
I have my short sword in one hand and my whistling rapier in the other.
Okay.
And I'm going to attack with
All right.
both.
How does that work if you make multiple attacks?
So your bonus is for the offhand, but you don't apply your modifier to it.
Okay.
You only apply the modifier to the other one.
Okay.
Your proficiency bonus, right?
You're
only proficient with your main hand.
Yeah, but not with the other one, so I can't apply the modifier to it.
Right.
Okay.
So I will roll for the rapier. 19.
That's a hit.
And she's next to me.
Yes.
So I get sneak attack.
Oh, you get sneak attack. All right.
So I do 6. Oh, plus.
1d8 plus 4.
Okay.
Your normal.
So it'll be 10
10 points of damage.
for the first attack.
All right.
Does it whistle, the sword?
Yes. When you swing it through the air, it actually makes a whistling noise. Yeah.
I like it. And then I will make an offhand attack with the short sword.
All right.
10 plus. I think it's 10 plus 4. What is it?
For short sword here, it says.
Like, what
It
do I
says
add?
normally plus 5, but that's if you were that was if you were using it in your main hand, I think.
No, it's the damage that's the modifier. that
Oh,
doesn't
1d6 plus 3.
get- Okay, so then it's 15 to hit?
15 to hit.
Yeah.
All right, that's a hit.
Okay. I think the short sword is 1d6. No modifier, though. So it only does 1 damage.
All right. Yeah, and you also notice that it doesn't seem to care much about your short sword.
Oh.
It doesn't like your rapier, but it doesn't seem to care very much about your short sword. Athelflaed, what do you want to do?
Can I move still?
Yeah, you can move.
I'll take the opportunity attack and move away.
You want to take an opportunity attack. All right.
I want to move my.
He hits you.
Okay, I want to move about 15 feet.
You take 9 points of damage.
I'll add that I had 20, so.
Can't disengage as a rogue?
I'm not a level 2 rogue.
Athelflaed, what are you doing?
How far away am I from the undead?
You're maybe 10 feet. You're not
10
far.
feet? Okay, I'm gonna try to hit him with my crossbow.
Okay.
Alright, 18.
That's a hit.
Alright, and 7 plus 3, 10.
10. All right. You hit it with your bolt from your crossbow, but it doesn't seem to care very much. It pulls the bolt out and tosses it aside. Epilema says, "Yeah, this is more like it. I'm tired of walking." And she will make 2 attacks. Both hits, although she's not raging right now. And does... Oof. Oh my god. Epilema might be overpowered. Yeah, she kills it.
Yay, Epilema!
Thank
Yeah, she
you.
just walks up to it, and 2 big slashes from her battle axe, she basically chops it in half. And then the little squirming remains on the ground, she chops up a few more times. And says, that was too easy. That's no fun. Well, let's get going.
Can I search the body? Is
Yeah,
there anything
sure. Search the
interesting
body.
on its person?
It has a bit of tattered leather armor. It has a long sword, which looks to be in rough shape. It had a ring.
Had a ring.
Now Aster has it.
Yep.
It's a gold ring.
Can I do an Arcana check? See if it has.
It won't tell you if it's magical, but if it has any runes on it, it might help you read them.
Okay, good.
Okay. What's your Arcana bonus?
It should be 4.
You don't think it's magical, but it does look like it's well crafted. It could be valuable.
Okay, I'll keep it on.
You continue moving eastward into the snow, and the snow is getting worse as you're moving. It's actually the clouds are getting worse. But occasionally when you can see through those clouds, you can still see that big bubble to the east.
Still the same day though, right?
It's the same day you woke up that morning, you passed by the mound.
And fought them.
And fought the white. It was a white. You're continuing to move along through the snow. And it's getting stronger and stronger. And then as you start to get closer to the bubble, you see that there's not just a bubble by the wall. There's also a large mound of stone that has been set up right up against the wall. A large rock. And by large, it's probably 50 feet high and maybe 100 feet wide. This giant stone that has been set right up, or is set right up against the wall, right where the bubble is. Through the snow, you occasionally see weird patterns or shapes or something on the rock, on this large stone.